Right now, as you are watching this, a massive cold front is slamming the eastern half of the United States, and temperatures have crashed by 30 to 40 degrees in less than 24 hours. But here is the part that should really get your attention. This cold front? It is just the opening act. Behind it, one of the most dangerous severe weather setups of the entire year is loading up, and it is aimed directly at the heart of America. We are talking tornadoes, baseball-sized hail, and damaging winds that could affect more than 47 million people by Tuesday. I am going to break down every single detail, city by city, state by state, hour by hour, so you know exactly what is coming and exactly when it arrives. And at the 5-minute mark, I am going to show you the specific timing window that forecasters are most worried about, the one that could catch millions of people off guard while they are sleeping. Do not skip ahead because everything builds on what comes before it. Before we get into the severe weather threat, let me tell you exactly what is happening right now across the country because today, Saturday, March 28, 2026, is one of the most dramatic temperature contrast days we have seen all year. If you are waking up along the East Coast this morning, you already know. It is cold, not just chilly. It feels like February decided to make a comeback. Philadelphia is sitting at 39 degrees right now. That is about 10 degrees colder than what is normal for late March. And the wind is absolutely brutal this morning. Gusts are ripping through the city, creating what feels like a wind tunnel between the buildings. And here's the science behind that. When wind moves between tall buildings in a city like Philadelphia, those buildings actually squeeze the air into tighter spaces. And when air gets squeezed, it speeds up. Think of a river. A wide, slow river moves gently. But narrow it down through a canyon and suddenly the water is ripping. Same thing is happening with the air today in Center City, Philadelphia, along the Benjamin Franklin Parkway and across every major East Coast city. Wind gusts in Philadelphia are running 20 to 30 miles per hour sustained, with gusts even higher. And that wind chill is making it feel like the upper 20s in some spots. Southern Chester County is reporting temperatures in the low 20s this morning. That is not a typo. The low 20s in late March. Now here's a quick twist that caught even the meteorologists off guard this morning. Some people are reporting what looks like snow flurries across parts of the Philadelphia suburbs. But here's the thing. Those are not actually snow flurries. The wind is so strong that it is blowing tiny ice crystals and frozen moisture right off the tree branches and swirling them through the air. It looks exactly like flurries, it feels exactly like flurries, but it is the wind literally shaking winter off the trees. So if you look out your window and think you see snow, you are not losing your mind. The wind is just playing tricks. Now let me take you across the entire East Coast and show you exactly what temperatures look like right now because this is an important baseline before we talk about the wild swings that are coming. Starting in New England. Boston is at 33 degrees with scattered clouds. Portland, Maine is at 28 degrees. Bangor, Maine, 21 degrees. That is brutally cold for this time of year. Presque Isle, Maine is reporting just 14 degrees this morning. Burlington, Vermont, 27 degrees. Concord, New Hampshire, 23 degrees. Montpelier, Vermont, 21 degrees. These are temperatures you would expect in January, not at the end of March. Moving down the coast. New York City is at 35 degrees with sunshine. Newark, New Jersey, 37. Jersey City, 37. Bridgeport, Connecticut, 36, Hartford, 34, New Haven, 35, Providence, Rhode Island, 35, Worcester, Massachusetts, 27, Springfield, Massachusetts, 35, down into the Mid-Atlantic, Philadelphia, 39, Allentown, Pennsylvania, 35, Reading, 38, Harrisburg, 37, Scranton, 31, Wilkes-Barre, 31, Trenton, New Jersey, 34, Atlantic City, 39, Baltimore, 42, Washington, D.C., 41, Annapolis, 40, Dover, Delaware, 41, Wilmington, Delaware, 40. Now here is where it gets interesting. While the entire Northeast and Mid-Atlantic are shivering, look what is happening as you move south. Richmond, Virginia, 44, Norfolk, 45, Virginia Beach, 46, Raleigh, North Carolina, 47, Charlotte, 47, Wilmington, North Carolina, 51, Charleston, South Carolina, 57, Columbia, South Carolina, 56, Savannah, Georgia, 68, Jacksonville, Florida, 65. And down in South Florida, Miami is sitting at a beautiful 81 degrees, Fort Lauderdale, 81, West Palm Beach, 81, Key West, 82 degrees, That is nearly a 60-degree temperature difference between Presque Isle, Maine, and Key West, Florida right now. 60 degrees. That is like two completely different planets sharing the same country. But wait, there is more to this temperature story. Drop a comment right now telling me where you are watching from, and I will tell you exactly what is heading your way. Because the forecast over the next 7 days is going to be one of the most dramatic weather roller coasters we have seen all season, and I want to make sure you are covered. Now let me swing across to the Midwest and the Central Plains because this is where the story gets really serious. Chicago is at 32 degrees right now, Milwaukee 32, Green Bay 28, Minneapolis 22 degrees. That is the coldest reading we have seen in Minneapolis at the end of March in several years. Detroit 30, Indianapolis 30, Columbus, Ohio 35, Cleveland 29, and they are actually seeing light snow right now. Buffalo 28, also with light snow. Cincinnati 39, Louisville 41, Nashville 47. Across the upper Midwest, it is even colder. Duluth, Minnesota 23, International Falls 22, Fargo, North Dakota 36, Bismarck 43, Sioux Falls, South Dakota 39, Des Moines, Iowa 33, Omaha 40, Kansas City 42, St. Louis 38, down into the southern plains. Dallas is at 54 degrees under overcast skies. Fort Worth 53, Austin 60, San Antonio 58, Houston 65, Oklahoma City 51, Tulsa 52, Little Rock, Arkansas 49, Memphis 48, and now the Deep South, Atlanta 54, Birmingham 51, Montgomery 59, Jackson, Mississippi 53, New Orleans 64, Mobile, Alabama 62, Tampa 77, Orlando 77, Pensacola 64, out west, Denver is at 55 degrees, Colorado Springs 39, Salt Lake City 50, Phoenix 78, Las Vegas 70, Los Angeles 60, San Francisco 52, Seattle 43, Portland, Oregon 46. I want you to pay very close attention to this next part because this is where the weather pattern flips, and it flips hard. And if you live anywhere from Texas to Ohio, this next section could save your life. Here is what we are tracking right now. That massive dome of high pressure that created record-breaking heat across the country last week, it is sliding east. And as it moves, it is doing something very dangerous. It is acting like a giant pump, pulling warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico and shoving it northward into the Central Plains and the upper Midwest. At the same time, the jet stream, that high-altitude river of air that steers our weather, is becoming much more active. It is developing a deep dip, a trough, over the western United States, and that trough is going to send powerful storm energy crashing into all that Gulf moisture. When you combine surging Gulf moisture with a powerful jet stream trough and a strong cold front, you get one thing: severe weather. And not just a passing thunderstorm. We are talking about potentially the first major severe weather outbreak of the 2026 spring season. Let me give you the timeline because timing is everything with severe weather. Sunday, March 29th. Today is the calm before the storm. Most of the country is going to be dry and stable behind this cold front. South Florida might see a few isolated showers and thunderstorms as the front stalls out, but nothing severe. The big story Sunday is the warm-up that begins in the southern plains and works its way north. Temperatures across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas will start climbing. By Sunday evening, you will already feel the shift. Monday, March 30th, the warm-up accelerates. Temperatures across the Central Plains will surge into the 60s and 70s. Gulf moisture will start flooding northward. Dew points will climb into the 50s and 60s across Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. The atmosphere is essentially loading the gun. By Monday evening, the first signs of instability will appear on weather models. And here is the sneaker detail. Monday night heading into Tuesday, the area around Lake Michigan could see an early round of severe weather. Northern Indiana, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and southern Michigan need to be on alert Monday night. This is the appetizer, not the main course, but it could still produce strong winds and isolated tornadoes. Now here's the part I promised you at the beginning, the 5-minute mark. This is the timing window that forecasters are most concerned about, and it is the one most likely to catch people off guard. Tuesday, March 31st. This is the main event. By late Tuesday afternoon, a developing area of low pressure will move through the Central Plains and begin interacting with that massive surge of warm, humid Gulf air. And when those two forces collide, the atmosphere is going to erupt. Here is the hour-by-hour breakdown. Early Tuesday morning, the atmosphere will be capping, holding the energy down like a pressure cooker with the lid on. Temperatures will climb through the 60s and into the 70s across Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Dew points will surge into the low to mid-60s. This is an environment that can support extremely powerful thunderstorms. By Tuesday afternoon, between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Central Time, the cap will begin to break. The first supercell thunderstorms are expected to fire along a line from eastern Missouri through central Illinois. These initial storms could be the most dangerous because they will have the most energy to work with. Forecasters are warning that EF2 or stronger tornadoes are possible in this initial round, Tuesday evening between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central Time. This is the peak danger window. Storms will organize into a line stretching roughly from Kansas City to Pittsburgh. At this point, damaging winds become the primary threat, with gusts potentially exceeding 65 miles per hour. But embedded within that line, individual supercells could still produce tornadoes. And here is the critical detail. Hailstones larger than 2 inches in diameter, that is larger than a golf ball, are likely from central Missouri into far northern Ohio. Cities directly in the crosshairs include St. Louis, Springfield, Illinois, Peoria, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Columbus, and Cleveland. Tuesday night, between 9 p.m. Central Time and 3 a.m. Eastern Time. This is the overnight danger period, and this is what keeps forecasters up at night. The squall line will surge southeast through Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and into the mid-Atlantic. Damaging winds and the continued threat of tornadoes will persist well after midnight. And here is the problem. When severe weather hits while people are sleeping, they cannot hear the sirens. They cannot see the warnings on their phones if their phones are on silent. If you live anywhere in this corridor, Tuesday night is the night to have a plan. Charge your phone. Make sure your weather alerts are turned on. Have a safe room identified in your home. And do not sleep with your phone on silent. Now let me break this down state by state so you know exactly what to expect. Missouri. Tuesday is going to be a rough day. Storms will begin firing in eastern Missouri during the mid to late afternoon. St. Louis is right in the bullseye. Expect the worst weather between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Central Time. Hail up to 2.5 inches, damaging winds, and tornado potential. If you are in Springfield, Jefferson City, Columbia, or anywhere along the Interstate 70 corridor, have your safe room ready by noon Tuesday, Illinois. This is the state that forecasters are watching most closely. The combination of moisture, instability, and wind shear creates a textbook environment for supercell thunderstorms. Chicago could see storms by late Tuesday evening between 7 p.m. and midnight. Central Illinois, including Peoria, Bloomington, Springfield, and Champaign, will be in the danger zone starting around 3 p.m. Central Time. The EF2 tornado potential is highest in this corridor. Indiana. Storms will move into Indiana during the evening hours Tuesday between 6 p.m. and midnight Eastern Time. Indianapolis is squarely in the threat area. Northern Indiana, from South Bend through Fort Wayne, could see storms arrive as early as 5 p.m. Southern Indiana, from Evansville through Bloomington, will see the squall line arrive between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. Ohio. The storms will reach Ohio during the late evening and overnight hours. Columbus could see the squall line arrive between 9 p.m. and midnight Eastern Time. Cleveland between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Cincinnati between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. And here is an important detail. Earlier this month, 4 separate radar sites in Ohio were experiencing outages during a severe weather event. That created a massive blind spot that forced National Weather Service offices to issue blanket tornado warnings because they could not get a clear picture of what was happening. Hopefully those radar issues will be resolved by Tuesday, but if you are in Ohio, do not rely solely on radar-based warnings. Have multiple ways to receive alerts. Kentucky. Northern Kentucky is what forecasters are calling a sneaker zone. This area does not always get the attention that the states further north receive during severe weather events, but the atmosphere will be extremely supportive of severe storms here. Lexington, Louisville, and the greater Cincinnati metro area all need to be prepared. Expect storms between 7 p.m. and midnight Eastern Time. Now let me talk about what happens after Tuesday, because this severe weather pattern is not a one-day event. Wednesday, April 1st. The squall line will push into the Northeast and New England. Rain and thunderstorms will spread from the mid-Atlantic through New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and into Maine. While the severe threat diminishes as the system moves east, New York City and the tri-state area could still see a few pops of lightning and briefly heavy downpours during the afternoon and evening. And here is an unexpected twist. On the backside of this system, some areas in the northern tier, including parts of upstate New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire, could see snow mixed in. Not accumulating snow, just a few passing snowflakes, but it is going to feel jarring after the warm surge that precedes the front. But here is the bigger picture that I do not want you to miss. This Tuesday event is not an isolated incident. Forecasters are saying this appears to be the beginning of a prolonged stormy pattern that will continue through the first week of April and possibly beyond. By next weekend, April 4th and 5th, the Pacific jet stream is expected to shift into what forecasters are calling a classic setup. A large dip in the jet stream over the western United States, a ridge building over the east, and storm energy funneling right into the traditional severe weather corridor of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. This is the kind of pattern that produces multi-day severe weather outbreaks. If you live anywhere in the central United States, this is not a one-week story. This is the beginning of severe weather season, and the atmosphere is telling us it means business. Let me give you some numbers to put this in perspective. 2025 was an exceptionally active year for tornadoes. Nearly 2/3 of all tornadoes last year occurred between March and May. The preliminary tornado count for 2025 was 1,544. The historical average is 1,225. This year, long-range forecasters are predicting between 1,050 and 1,250 tornadoes across the United States. That is right around the historical average, which might sound like good news, but here is the twist. Even if tornado counts trend lower than last year, the threat of damaging wind events is expected to remain widespread. Flash flooding is also a major concern this year, and it only takes one tornado striking a populated area to make this a devastating season. And remember what happened just a few weeks ago on March 10th. An EF3 tornado with winds of 160 miles per hour carved a 35-mile path through northeastern Illinois and into Lake Village, Indiana. Homes were leveled, businesses were destroyed, lives were lost, and now those exact same communities that are still cleaning up, still filing insurance claims, still trying to put their lives back together, are once again in the crosshairs. The emotional toll of that is enormous, and it is real. If you know someone in that area, check on them this week. Share this video with them. Make sure they have a plan. Now let me circle back and give you the full temperature breakdown for every major region, because I promised you coverage of over 270 cities, and I am going to deliver. Let us start with the Southeast. Right now, the Southeast is in a transition zone. The cold front has pushed through, but temperatures are not as brutally cold as they are further north. Atlanta is at 54, Chattanooga 49, Knoxville 46, Asheville 42, Greenville, South Carolina 53, Columbia, South Carolina 56, Charlotte 47, Raleigh 47, Durham 47, Fayetteville, North Carolina 52, Wilmington, North Carolina 51, Charleston, South Carolina 57, Savannah 68, Jacksonville, Florida 65, Augusta, Georgia 58, Macon 65, Columbus, Georgia 60, Tallahassee 70, Pensacola 64, Mobile 62, Montgomery 59, Birmingham 51, Huntsville 49, Tuscaloosa 53, Dothan 64, Destin 67, Panama City 66, Fort Walton Beach 63. Florida is the warm spot in the eastern half of the country right now. Tampa 77, Orlando 77, Miami 81, Fort Lauderdale 81, West Palm Beach 81, Fort Myers 77, Naples 78, Sarasota 79, St. Petersburg 79, Daytona Beach 78, Cocoa Beach 78, Cape Canaveral 79, Key West 82, Gainesville 77, Ocala 75, Lakeland 75, Kissimmee 77, now the Mid-South, Memphis 48, Nashville 47, Murfreesboro 47, Clarksville 46, Jackson, Tennessee 46, Chattanooga 49, Knoxville 46, Bowling Green, Kentucky 46, Hopkinsville 46, Lexington, Kentucky 39, Louisville 41, Paducah 46, Little Rock 49, Fort Smith 48, Fayetteville, Arkansas 49, Jonesboro 46, the Midwest and Great Lakes, Chicago 32, Rockford 32, Peoria 37, Springfield, Illinois 37, Champaign 37, Bloomington, Illinois 37, Decatur 38, Indianapolis 30, Fort Wayne 33, South Bend 33, Evansville 44, Terre Haute 40, Muncie 35, Columbus, Ohio 35, Cleveland 29, Cincinnati 39, Dayton 37, Akron 32, Toledo 32, Youngstown 30, Canton 31, Detroit 30, Grand Rapids 30, Kalamazoo 30, Lansing 29, Ann Arbor 31, Flint 28, Saginaw 30, Traverse City 28, Milwaukee 32, Madison 30, Green Bay 28, Appleton 30, Eau Claire 28, Wausau 26, Duluth 23, Minneapolis 22, St. Paul 30, Rochester, Minnesota 28, Des Moines 33, Cedar Rapids 32, Iowa City 33, Sioux City 24, Waterloo 31, Davenport 34, Dubuque 31, the Northern Plains and Mountain West, Fargo 36, Grand Forks 35, Bismarck 43, Minot 41, Sioux Falls 39, Rapid City 47, Pierre 50, Omaha 40, Lincoln 45, Kansas City 42, Topeka 45, Wichita 46, Denver 55, Colorado Springs 39, Boulder 45, Fort Collins 38, Pueblo 36, Grand Junction 57, Salt Lake City 50, Provo 53, Ogden 50, Boise 44, Pocatello 38, Idaho Falls 35, Helena 32, Missoula 35, Billings 41, Great Falls 41, Casper 42, Cheyenne 45, the Southern Plains in Texas, Dallas 54, Fort Worth 53, Houston 65, San Antonio 58, Austin 60, El Paso 50, Corpus Christi 67, McAllen 72, Brownsville 76, Lubbock 48, Amarillo 46, Midland 47, Odessa 47, Abilene 51, Waco 57, Killeen 56, Temple 57, Tyler 55, Longview 57, Texarkana 53, Beaumont 61, Galveston 65, Oklahoma City 51, Tulsa 52, Norman 52, Lawton 52, Enid 51, Stillwater 51, the Southwest, Phoenix 78, Tucson 69, Scottsdale 75, Mesa 76, Tempe 78, Chandler 73, Flagstaff 51, Sedona 61, Prescott 63, Yuma 78, Las Vegas 70, Henderson 69, Reno 46, Albuquerque 41, Santa Fe 40, Las Cruces 50, the Pacific Northwest, Seattle 43, Portland, Oregon 46, Tacoma 41, Olympia 38, Bellingham 43, Spokane 40, Eugene 38, Salem 39, Bend 35, Medford 42, California, Los Angeles 60, San Francisco 52, San Diego 60, San Jose 54, Sacramento 52, Fresno 60, Bakersfield 62, Long Beach 58, Anaheim 59, Riverside 59, Oakland 51, Santa Barbara 57, Palm Springs 77, Monterey 49, Santa Rosa 42, Redding 46, Eureka 43, Alaska, Anchorage 7 degrees, Fairbanks -5, Juneau 15, Barrow 15, Kodiak 16, Nome 20, Valdez 16, Sitka 28, Hawaii, Honolulu 67, Hilo 66, Kailua Kona 71, Maui 66. That right there is your complete Saturday morning temperature snapshot across America. Now let me tell you why those numbers matter. If you are sitting in Chicago right now at 32 degrees by Tuesday, your temperature could surge into the upper 50s or even low 60s ahead of the storms. That is a 30-degree swing in less than 72 hours. That kind of rapid warming is what fuels severe weather. The atmosphere goes from stable and cold to volatile and unstable in a matter of hours. And here is a detail that most weather channels will not tell you. This cold snap you are feeling right now, it is actually making Tuesday's severe weather threat worse, not better. Here is why. The cold air that is in place right now creates a very strong temperature gradient across the country. When the warm, moist Gulf air surges northward into that cold air mass, the clash is more intense. The bigger the temperature difference, the stronger the storms. So the fact that Minneapolis is at 22 degrees this morning and Houston is at 65 degrees, that 43-degree contrast is jet fuel for severe weather development. Do not miss the next section, because I am about to walk you through exactly how to prepare, and I am going to share a detail about the radar network that most people have never heard of, a detail that could affect how much warning time you get. Let me talk about the radar issue, because this is genuinely concerning and it does not get enough attention. During the severe weather event on Thursday, March 26th, 4 separate National Weather Service radar sites in Ohio experienced outages. These outages created a massive hole in radar coverage across a huge section of the state. When you lose radar coverage during a severe weather event, forecasters essentially lose their eyes. They cannot see storm rotation. They cannot identify tornado signatures. They cannot issue targeted warnings. What happened was remarkable and alarming at the same time. National Weather Service offices in the affected area were forced to issue blanket tornado warnings, broad warnings covering large geographic areas based on signs that there could be rotation rather than confirmed rotation on radar. It is essentially weather forecasting in the dark, making their best guess based on limited information. Now think about that for a moment. We are in 2026. We have satellites that can photograph individual houses from space. We have artificial intelligence that can predict weather patterns weeks in advance. But our ground-level radar network, the system that provides the real-time data that saves lives during tornado events, had 4 sites go down simultaneously in the middle of a severe weather outbreak. That is a systemic vulnerability that affects every single person living in the coverage area of those radars. As of right now, there is no public confirmation that all 4 radar sites have been fully restored and tested. If those sites are still experiencing issues when Tuesday's severe weather arrives, Ohio could once again be partially blind during a potentially dangerous event. So what can you do? First, do not rely on a single source for severe weather warnings. Have a NOAA weather radio with battery backup. Have the weather app on your phone with alerts turned on. Follow your local National Weather Service office on social media. And tell your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors who might not have smartphones, to turn on their local television station when storms are approaching. Second, know your plan. If a tornado warning is issued for your area, you need to be in your safe room within 60 seconds. That means knowing exactly where you are going. Interior room, lowest floor, away from windows. Basement is best. If you do not have a basement, a closet, or bathroom in the center of your home is your next best option. Have shoes nearby, because if your home takes damage, you do not want to be walking through debris in bare feet. Third, have a way to receive warnings while you sleep. Tuesday night is an overnight severe weather event for much of Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. If your phone is on Do Not Disturb mode, severe weather alerts should still come through, but only if you have them enabled in your settings. Check your phone settings right now. Go to your weather app and make sure extreme weather alerts are turned on. This is not something you want to figure out at 2 a.m. when a tornado is bearing down on your neighborhood. Let me also talk about what is happening on the other side of the country, because the weather pattern is not just about severe storms in the Midwest. Out west, temperatures have been running well above normal for weeks. Phoenix hit the upper 80s earlier this week. Las Vegas has been in the low 70s. Parts of Southern California have been dealing with above normal warmth as well. But a pattern change is coming. By next week, Pacific storms are expected to start moving inland, bringing some relief to the southwest heat and much-needed rain to parts of the drought-stricken southern plains. And speaking of drought, here is a detail that connects the severe weather threat to a much bigger picture. The southern plains from Texas through Oklahoma and into Kansas are currently dealing with significant drought conditions. Nearly the entire region is classified as being in some level of drought. The storms that are forecast for next week could bring much-needed rainfall to this area. So while we rightly focus on the severe weather dangers, there is a silver lining. These storms could help replenish parched soils and struggling water supplies. But there is a flip side. When heavy rain falls on drought-hardened soil, the water cannot soak in fast enough. It runs off, pooling in low areas and flooding streets and highways. Flash flooding becomes a serious risk, especially in urban areas where pavement prevents any water absorption at all. So even if you are not in the tornado threat area, if you are in the southern plains and you see heavy rain on Tuesday or Wednesday, do not drive through flooded roadways. Turn around, drown. That phrase exists for a reason. Now, I want to bring this full circle and talk about the week ahead for the entire country, because no matter where you are, something is changing. For the Northeast, Saturday and Sunday are going to be cold and windy, but dry and mostly sunny. Enjoy the sunshine because by Wednesday, clouds and rain will be moving in. Temperatures will moderate by Monday and Tuesday, with highs climbing back into the upper 40s and 50s for most of the region. Wednesday and Thursday will be rainy with some thunderstorms possible, though the severe threat is much lower than what the Midwest faces. By Friday, April 3rd, some areas in upstate New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire could see a few snowflakes mixing in with rain as colder air wraps around the backside of the departing storm system. For the southeast, it is going to warm up nicely heading into Tuesday and Wednesday. Atlanta could see highs in the mid-70s by Tuesday, but the warmth comes with a price. By Wednesday, rain and thunderstorms will spread across the region. Some storms could be strong, with heavy rainfall the primary concern. Flooding risk increases for areas that received heavy rain earlier in March. For the Midwest, this is where the biggest story unfolds. Cold Saturday and Sunday. Rapid warm-up Monday and Tuesday. Then the hammer drops Tuesday afternoon and evening. After the storms pass Tuesday night into Wednesday, temperatures will crash again. Chicago could go from the low 60s on Tuesday to the mid-30s by Thursday morning. That is the kind of whiplash that defines spring in the Midwest. For the southern plains, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas will see temperatures surge into the 70s and possibly 80s by Tuesday. The initial severe weather threat Tuesday is focused further north and east from Missouri through Ohio, but by next weekend, April 4th and 5th, the southern plains will be squarely in the severe weather crosshairs as the jet stream repositions into a classic spring pattern. For the Mountain West, quiet and dry through the weekend and early next week. Temperatures will be near or slightly above normal. By midweek, Pacific energy will begin to influence the region, bringing clouds and some mountain snow to the Rockies. For the Pacific Northwest, a typical spring pattern with a mix of sun and clouds, temperatures in the 40s to low 50s, some rain possible by midweek as Pacific disturbances move through. For California, the warmth continues through the weekend. Southern California will see highs in the 60s to low 70s near the coast, with upper 70s to low 80s inland. Northern California will be cooler, with highs in the 50s and low 60s. By midweek, some Pacific moisture could bring light rain to Northern California. For Alaska, brutally cold conditions persist. Anchorage is at 7 degrees this morning. Fairbanks is at -5. Interior Alaska has been locked in a deep freeze, and there is no significant moderation in the forecast through the end of the month. For Hawaii, breezy trade winds are dominating the islands. Scattered showers are focusing on windward areas, especially on the Big Island and Maui. A weak cold front pushed through Friday night, bringing some cooler and drier air. Trade winds will strengthen through the weekend, with gusts up to 40 miles per hour possible in leeward areas. If you are visiting the islands, expect wind, but also plenty of sunshine on leeward sides. Now, here is what I want you to take away from all of this. We are entering the most active time of the year for severe weather in the United States. April averages the second most tornadoes of any month, behind only May. The atmosphere is transitioning from winter mode to spring mode, and that transition is violent. Cold air from Canada and warm air from the Gulf are going to be battling it out across the middle of the country for the next several weeks, and every time they clash, severe weather is possible. This year, forecasters are predicting between 1,050 and 1,250 tornadoes across the country. That is near the long-term average, but averages mean nothing when a tornado is heading for your house. The March 10th tornado that devastated Lake Village, Indiana, was an EF3 with 160-mile-per-hour winds. It carved a 35-mile path of destruction through communities that are still picking up the pieces, and those same communities are about to face another round of severe weather on Tuesday. Here is my ask. If you found this information useful, do two things. First, share this video with someone who lives in the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, or anywhere in the severe weather corridor. They need to know what is coming Tuesday. Second, drop a comment below with your city and state. I read every single comment, and I will respond with specific forecast information for your area. The more you engage, the more I can tailor these forecasts to your needs. And if you are thinking about turning off this video and going about your Saturday, let me leave you with one more piece of information that might change your mind about how seriously to take this. On March 13th through 16th of 2025, just 1 year ago, A massive tornado outbreak tore through the Midwest and Southeast. It was the largest tornado outbreak ever recorded in the month of March. An EF4 tornado crossed a runway at St. Louis Lambert International Airport while a plane was taking off. Another EF4 caused catastrophic damage in rural Arkansas. 10 people died in Missouri, 7 died in Mississippi, 3 died in Arkansas, 3 died in Alabama. In total, 42 people lost their lives. The atmospheric setup for Tuesday shares many of the same ingredients that fueled that outbreak. A powerful jet stream, surging Gulf moisture, strong wind shear, a fast-moving cold front. Does that mean Tuesday will be as bad as March 2025? Not necessarily, but the potential is there and the potential demands preparation. Do not wait until the sirens are blaring to figure out your plan. Do it today. Saturday, while the sun is shining and the air is calm. Have the conversation with your family. Know where your safe room is. Charge your devices. Check your weather alerts. And if you have a storm shelter, make sure it is accessible and ready. The calm you feel right now, it is temporary. The atmosphere is loading up, and by Tuesday, it is going to unleash. Be ready. Coming up in my next video, I will have the very latest forecast models for Tuesday's severe weather event with updated timing, specific threat levels for each major city in the path, and the very latest on whether those Ohio radar sites have been repaired. You are not going to want to miss that one because the details are going to change fast as we get closer to Tuesday, and I will be here to walk you through every single update. But before I go, let me give you even more detail because I know many of you are sitting there wondering, what about my specific area? What about the smaller towns and cities that never get mentioned on the national weather channels? Well, I have got you covered. Let me do a deep dive into every single region. Let me start with the area that is getting hit hardest right now, the Northeast Corridor. Right now, from Boston down through Washington, D.C., you are dealing with a combination of cold temperatures and gusty winds that is making it feel absolutely miserable outside. But here is the good news. This is the last cold push of any significance for at least the next 7 to 10 days. Starting Monday, a gradual warming trend will take hold, and by the middle of next week, many East Coast cities will be back into the 50s and even approaching 60 degrees. Let me get specific. In Massachusetts, Boston is at 33 right now. By Monday, expect highs near 45. By Wednesday, you could be looking at 50 to 55 degrees, though rain will move in with that warmth. Worcester is at 27 right now, and it will be one of the last cities to warm up because of its elevation. Cambridge, 33, Brockton, 34, Springfield, 35, Plymouth, 32, Fall River, 34, Lowell, 31, New Bedford, 34. The Cape is sitting in the low 30s with winds making it feel like the 20s. Nantucket and Provincetown are among the windiest spots in New England right now, with sustained winds around 20 to 25 miles per hour and gusts even higher. In Connecticut, Hartford is at 34, Bridgeport 36, New Haven 35, Stamford 34, Danbury 33, Waterbury 33, Manchester 31, Glastonbury 34. Expect a gradual warm-up starting Sunday, with temperatures climbing back towards seasonal norms by Tuesday. In Rhode Island, Providence is at 35, Newport 33, Narragansett 33, Warwick 35. These coastal communities are feeling the bite of the wind even more than inland areas because there is nothing to block that cold northwesterly flow coming across the water. In Vermont, Burlington is at 27, Montpelier 21, Rutland 30, Brattleboro 26. These are well below average temperatures for this time of year. Normally by late March, Vermont is seeing highs in the mid to upper 40s. Being stuck in the 20s feels like a setback after what had been a relatively mild March overall. In New Hampshire, Concord is at 23, Manchester 31, Nashua 30, Portsmouth 30. The White Mountains region is even colder, with some locations reporting temperatures in the teens this morning. Berlin, New Hampshire is at 19 degrees right now. That is winter cold, plain and simple. In Maine, Portland is at 28, Bangor 21, Augusta 25, Lewiston 25, Presque Isle, all the way up in Aroostook County, is at 14 degrees. If you are in northern Maine this morning, you are experiencing temperatures that are more typical of early February than late March. Now let me move down to the mid-Atlantic in more detail. Pennsylvania is a big state with a lot of weather diversity, and today is a perfect example. In the southeast, Philadelphia is at 39, Bensalem Township 37, Norristown 35, Phoenixville 36, Lancaster 37, Reading 38. These areas are cold but seeing sunshine, and they will warm up nicely by the middle of next week. But go further north and west in Pennsylvania and it gets significantly colder. Scranton 31. Wilkes-Barre 31, Altoona 32, State College 34, Johnstown 38, Pittsburgh 33, and they are dealing with partly sunny skies and that raw, damp feel that the Steel City knows all too well in March. Erie 29 degrees with cloudy skies. Punxsutawney, home of the famous groundhog, is at 29 degrees. I am pretty sure Phil would have gone right back into his burrow this morning. In New York, the city itself is at 35, Brooklyn 35, Queens 35, Yonkers 36, White Plains 34, Long Island, specifically Babylon, is at 35. Head upstate and temperatures drop quickly. Albany 32, Syracuse 31, Rochester 30, Buffalo 28 with light snow, Binghamton 27, Ithaca 28, Utica 30, Plattsburgh 25, Watertown area near Fort Drum 23 degrees. The Adirondacks are even colder, with Lake Placid at 22 degrees. In New Jersey, northern New Jersey is the coldest, with Patterson and Passaic both at 36. Newark, 37. Jersey City, 37. Elizabeth, 37. The shore points are a bit milder thanks to the ocean influence. Atlantic City, 39. Seaside Heights, 37. The Pine Barrens in central Jersey are running in the mid-30s. Lakewood, 37. Freehold, 37. Princeton, 43, which is the warmest spot in the state right now thanks to its slightly more sheltered inland location. In Delaware, Dover is at 41, Wilmington 40, Rehoboth Beach 40. Small state, not much temperature variation, but it is consistently chilly across the board. In Maryland, Baltimore is at 42, Annapolis 40, Hagerstown 39, Frederick 39. The Eastern Shore is running in the upper 30s to low 40s. Ocean City area is around 40 degrees with that persistent wind off the Atlantic making it feel significantly colder. In Virginia, the northern Virginia suburbs of D.C. are running 39 to 42 degrees. Reston, 39. Fairfax, 39. Alexandria, 41. Sterling, 39. Move south and it warms up a bit. Richmond, 44. Virginia Beach, 46. Norfolk, 45. Newport News, 44. Roanoke, 42. Charlottesville, 41. Harrisonburg, 40. Lynchburg, 42. The Shenandoah Valley is particularly cold this morning because cold air drains into valleys overnight, and the combination of valley drainage and the cold front passage has some spots in the valley running 5 to 8 degrees colder than surrounding hillsides. In West Virginia, Charleston is at 38, Huntington 41, Morgantown 37, Clarksburg 35, Wheeling 34. The mountains of West Virginia are among the coldest spots in the eastern half of the country today, with some high elevation locations still in the 20s. Now let me shift to the area that everybody needs to be watching this week, the central United States. Because what is happening there right now is deceptively calm, and that calm is about to end in dramatic fashion. Right now, the Midwest is cold and quiet, but by Monday night, everything begins to change. The warm front will start lifting northward, pulling 60 and 70-degree air into areas that are currently sitting in the 30s. And when you see temperatures go from 32 degrees to 65 degrees in 48 hours, that is the atmosphere telling you something dramatic is about to happen. Let me walk you through what Monday night into Tuesday looks like, region by region. In Kansas and western Missouri, Monday will be warm. Temperatures will climb into the 60s, possibly touching 70 in some spots. Dew points will be in the 50s and rising. By Monday evening, the first few isolated storms could pop in eastern Kansas. These will not be the main event, but they could produce some gusty winds and small hail. Wichita, Topeka, Kansas City, Lawrence, Manhattan, and Emporia should all be monitoring conditions Monday evening. By Tuesday morning, the atmosphere across Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio will be primed. The cap, that layer of warm air aloft that acts like a lid on the atmosphere, will be in place early but weakening. Temperatures at the surface will climb rapidly. Springfield, Missouri, Jefferson City, Columbia, and St. Louis will all push into the upper 60s or low 70s by early afternoon. Between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, the cap is expected to break in eastern Missouri and western Illinois. This is when the first supercells will fire. And here is the critical detail. The initial storms that develop right as the cap breaks often have the most energy to work with because they have access to all that pent-up instability that has been building all day. These initial cells are the ones most likely to produce large hail and tornadoes. St. Louis needs to be particularly alert between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time. The metro area, including Clayton, Florissant, Ferguson, and the surrounding suburbs, falls squarely in the expected initiation zone for these storms. And given the size and population density of the St. Louis metro, even a single supercell tracking through the area could affect hundreds of thousands of people. Springfield, Illinois should expect storms to arrive between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time. Peoria between 3:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Bloomington and Normal between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Champaign and Urbana between 4:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Decatur between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. As we push into the evening, the storm complex will organize into a line. Indianapolis, expect the line to arrive between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The Indianapolis metro area has a population of over 2 million people. When a squall line with embedded tornadoes moves through a metro area of that size, the potential for damage and injuries increases dramatically because there are simply more structures and more people in the path. Fort Wayne, expect storms between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Lafayette between 6:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. Terre Haute between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Bloomington, Indiana between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Evansville, which is further south, expect storms between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. Central Time. In Ohio, the line will push through during the late evening and overnight hours. This is the most dangerous timing of the entire event. Cincinnati, expect the line between 9 p.m. and midnight Eastern Time. Dayton, between 9:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. Columbus, between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Akron, between 10:30 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. Cleveland, between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. Toledo, between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Youngstown, between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. Now, here is something that most people do not think about. As the squall line pushes through Ohio and into the mid-Atlantic overnight, it will still be capable of producing damaging winds. Even if the tornado threat diminishes slightly, wind gusts of 50 to 65 miles per hour can cause significant damage. Trees will come down, power lines will snap. If you are in Pennsylvania, especially the western and central parts of the state, Pittsburgh, Altoona, State College, Harrisburg, you need to be prepared for damaging winds by early Wednesday morning. And let me add one more layer to this. The amount of moisture in the atmosphere ahead of this system is impressive. Precipitable water values, that is the total amount of water vapor in a column of atmosphere above a given point, are expected to reach 1.5 inches or more across parts of the Ohio Valley on Tuesday night. That is well above average for late March and early April. What that means is that any thunderstorm that develops will be capable of producing torrential rainfall. 1 to 2 inches of rain per hour is possible with the strongest storms. Flash flooding will be a genuine threat, especially in urban areas and near rivers and creeks that are already running high from earlier March rains. Now let me talk about something that often gets overlooked in severe weather coverage, the fire weather threat. While the central and eastern United States are dealing with severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, the western plains are facing a completely different danger. Behind the cold front, strong winds and dry conditions will create elevated fire weather risk across parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, and Colorado. Earlier this month, when a similar cold front moved through, Oklahoma experienced 97 destructive wildfires in a single day. 3,000 acres burned in Logan County alone. Winds of 65 miles per hour were recorded. The same ingredients are in play next week. Behind the cold front that triggers the severe weather across the Midwest, you have strong winds, low humidity, and dry vegetation. If you are in the western Oklahoma Panhandle, western Kansas, or the eastern Colorado Plains, do not burn trash. Do not use outdoor equipment that could create sparks. One spark in the wrong place can turn into an uncontrollable wildfire in minutes. Fire weather is one of the most underrated threats in American weather. It does not get the media attention that tornadoes and hurricanes get, but it can be just as destructive and just as deadly. Last year, fire weather events caused billions of dollars in damage across the plains. 2026 is shaping up to be another active fire weather year, and next week could be one of the first major fire weather events of the season. Now let me bring everything together and give you the bottom line forecast. Saturday, March 28th and Sunday, March 29th. Cold and windy across the east, dry and stable across most of the country. Highs in the 30s and 40s across the Northeast and Great Lakes, 50s across the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast, 70s and 80s across the desert Southwest and Florida. This is the quiet window. Use it to prepare. Monday, March 30th. The warm-up begins in earnest across the Central Plains. Temperatures surge, Gulf moisture returns. Late Monday night, a few storms possible near the Great Lakes. Tuesday, March 31st. The main event. Severe thunderstorms from Missouri through Ohio. Peak danger between 2 p.m. Central Time and 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds all possible. Overnight threat across Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky is the most dangerous window of the entire event. Wednesday, April 1st. Storms push into the Northeast. Rain and some thunderstorms from the Mid-Atlantic through New England. Some snow mixing on the backside in the northern tier. Cold air rushes in behind the front. Thursday, April 2nd and Friday, April 3rd. Much colder behind the front. Temperatures crash 20 to 30 degrees in many Midwest and Northeast locations. Some frost and freeze concerns in the Southeast. Next weekend, April 4th and 5th. The pattern reloads. A new severe weather threat develops across the southern plains, focused on Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. This could be another significant severe weather event, and we will be tracking it closely in the days ahead. Let me say this one more time because it is that important. If you live anywhere from central Missouri through Ohio and from southern Wisconsin and southern Michigan down through Kentucky and Tennessee, Tuesday, March 31st is a day to be weather aware. Have a plan. Know where your safe room is. Charge your phone. Enable weather alerts. Tell your family what to do if a warning is issued. And if you are going to be driving Tuesday evening or Tuesday night, think about whether that trip is absolutely necessary. Being in a car during a tornado or a severe thunderstorm with 65-mile-per-hour winds is one of the most dangerous places you can be. I know weather videos can sometimes feel alarmist. That is not what I am going for here. I am going for informed. I want you to have every piece of information you need to make smart decisions for yourself and your family over the next week. The atmosphere is loaded, the pattern is active, and severe weather season 2026 is officially here. Now let me give you even more detail on the Deep South, because this region often gets caught off guard by late-season cold snaps, and this one is no different. In Georgia, Atlanta is at 54 degrees this morning. That is about 10 degrees below the seasonal average for late March. Normally, Atlanta is pushing into the mid-60s by this time of year. Gainesville, Georgia, 57. Savannah, 68. Augusta, 58. Macon, 65. Columbus, Georgia, 60. Athens, 54. Dalton, 46. Brazelton, 55, LaGrange, 54, Cumming, 57, Lawrenceville, 58, Fayetteville, 55, Toccoa, 54, Winder, 55. The warmer readings in the southern half of the state reflect the lingering Gulf influence that the cold front has not fully pushed out yet. In Alabama, Birmingham is at 51, Huntsville, 49, Montgomery, 59, Mobile, 62, Tuscaloosa, 53, Auburn, 57, Dothan, 64, Talladega, 52, Florence, 50, Bruton, 58, Daphne, 62. The Tennessee Valley of northern Alabama is the coldest part of the state and will be one of the areas to watch next week as the severe weather pattern develops. In Mississippi, Jackson is at 53, Hattiesburg, 59, Gulfport, 63, Biloxi, 61, Tupelo, 49, Oxford, 48, Vicksburg, 57, Macomb, 57, Meridian region is in the low 50s. Bay St. Louis, 63. Gautier, 64. Pascagoula, 64. The Gulf Coast communities are the warmest spots in the state thanks to the moderating influence of the Gulf of Mexico. In Louisiana, New Orleans is at 64. Baton Rouge, 62. Shreveport, 55. Lafayette, 61. Lake Charles, 59. Alexandria, 58. Monroe region is in the mid-50s. The state is in a sweet spot right now, mild and pleasant, but that changes next week as the storm pattern moves in. Now let me cover Texas in more detail because Texas is a massive state and the weather varies enormously from one end to the other. In North Texas, Dallas is at 54 under overcast skies. Fort Worth, 53. Arlington, 55. Plano, 53. McKinney, 53. Denton, 52, Garland, 54, Irving, 53, Mesquite, 54, Louisville, 54, Carrollton, 54, Grand Prairie, 55. The Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is under a gray sky this morning, but temperatures will climb significantly by early next week. In Central Texas, Austin is at 60, Waco 57, San Antonio 58, Temple 57, Killeen 56, Round Rock area is around 59, San Marcos 61. New Braunfels area is around 58. These communities will be among the first to feel the warm-up, with temperatures potentially reaching the 80s by Tuesday. In South Texas, Corpus Christi is at 67, McAllen 72, Brownsville 76, Laredo 60. The Rio Grande Valley is the warmest part of Texas this morning and will remain comfortably warm all week. In East Texas, Tyler is at 55, Longview 57, Nacogdoches 56, Beaumont 61, Texarkana 53. This region will see scattered thunderstorms by Wednesday as the main storm system lifts northeast. In West Texas, El Paso is at 50, Midland 47, Odessa 47, Lubbock 48, Amarillo 46. These areas will see the fire weather threat next week as dry conditions and strong winds set up behind the cold front. Now let me briefly cover the West Coast, because even though the severe weather threat is focused on the central United States, the West has its own weather story unfolding. In Washington State, Seattle is at 43 degrees under partly sunny skies, Tacoma 41, Olympia 38, Bellingham 43, Spokane 40, Yakima 44. The Pacific Northwest is in a fairly typical late March pattern with temperatures running a bit below normal. By midweek, a Pacific disturbance could bring some rain to western Washington. In Oregon, Portland is at 46, Eugene 38, Salem 39, Bend 35, Medford 42, Astoria 46. The Willamette Valley is seeing sunshine this morning, a welcome sight after what has been a wet winter. In California, the coast is living up to its reputation with mild, foggy conditions along the central and southern coast. Los Angeles 60. San Diego 60, San Francisco 52, San Jose 54, Sacramento 52, Fresno 60, Bakersfield 62, Long Beach 58, Santa Barbara 57, Monterey 49, Santa Cruz 49, Palm Springs 77. The inland valleys and desert regions are the warmest spots, while the coast is dealing with that classic marine layer that keeps temperatures cool until the fog burns off by late morning. One thing I want to highlight for California residents: the Sierra Nevada snowpack is a crucial topic heading into April. Snow melt in the Sierra feeds much of California's water supply, and the snowpack levels this year will determine water availability through the summer. As Pacific storms become more active in April, we could see additional snow accumulation in the mountains, which would be welcome news for the state's water managers. South Lake Tahoe is at 35 degrees this morning and Truckee is at 30 degrees. These mountain communities are still firmly in winter mode. In Nevada, Las Vegas is at 70 degrees. That is near normal for late March. Reno, 46. Carson City, 46. Henderson, 69. The Las Vegas Strip is seeing partly cloudy skies and pleasant conditions, perfect weather for anyone visiting this weekend. In Arizona, Phoenix is at 78 degrees, which is actually a bit below the record-breaking temperatures they have been seeing recently. Tucson, 69, Flagstaff, 51, Scottsdale, 75, Mesa, 76, Sedona, 61, Yuma, 78. The desert Southwest has been running well above average for most of March, but the pattern change coming next week could bring some Pacific moisture and slightly cooler temperatures to the region. Now let me give you some preparation tips that apply no matter where you live, because severe weather can happen anywhere, and being prepared is not just for people in Tornado Alley. Number 1, make sure you have a weather alert system that works while you sleep. Your smartphone can receive wireless emergency alerts, but only if the feature is enabled. Check your settings right now. On an iPhone, go to Settings, then Notifications, then scroll to the bottom and look for Government Alerts. Make sure both Emergency Alerts and Extreme Alerts are turned on. On Android, go to Settings, then Apps, then find Wireless Emergency Alerts, and make sure the toggle is on. If your phone is older and does not support these alerts, invest in a NOAA weather radio. They cost about $30 and they can save your life. Number 2, identify your safe room before you need it. The safest place during a tornado is in a basement under a sturdy piece of furniture away from windows. If you do not have a basement, go to the lowest floor of your home in an interior room like a closet or bathroom and get under something sturdy. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And here is a detail most people forget. Put on shoes and a bike helmet if you have one. If your home is damaged, you will need to walk through debris, and head injuries are one of the most common tornado injuries. Number 3, have an emergency kit ready. Water, flashlight, batteries, first aid kit, phone charger, important documents in a waterproof bag, and any medications you or your family members need. If you have pets, have their carriers accessible and leashes ready. In a tornado situation, you may have less than 60 seconds to get to your safe room. Everything needs to be ready to grab and go. Number 4, know the difference between a watch and a warning. A tornado watch means conditions are favorable for tornadoes in your area. A tornado warning means a tornado has been spotted on radar or confirmed by spotters and is occurring or imminent. When a watch is issued, stay alert and monitor the weather. When a warning is issued, take shelter immediately. Do not wait to see the tornado. Do not go outside to look. Get to your safe room right now. Number 5, have a communication plan. Make sure everyone in your family knows what to do and where to go. If family members are at work, school, or other locations, make sure they know the plan for those locations too. Designate an out-of-state contact person that everyone can check in with after the storm passes, because local phone networks often get overloaded during emergencies, and it is sometimes easier to reach someone far away than someone across town. Drop your city and state in the comments. I want to hear from every single one of you. Whether you are watching from Bangor, Maine, or Bakersfield, California, or anywhere in between, let me know where you are and I will make sure you are covered. And one final thought before I wrap up. Earlier today in Philadelphia, they are celebrating the Cherry Blossom Festival at the Horticultural Center. 100 years of cherry blossoms in Fairmount Park. It is cold and windy, but the trees are blooming anyway. There is something beautiful about that. Nature does not wait for perfect conditions. It pushes forward regardless, and that is exactly what we do. We face the storms, we prepare, we protect our families, we look out for our neighbors, and when the skies clear, we rebuild. That is the American spirit, and no amount of severe weather can take that away. Let me also take a moment to talk about something that has been on my mind all morning. We are now entering what meteorologists call the peak of severe weather season. From April through June, the United States sees more tornadoes, more damaging hail events, and more severe wind events than any other time of year. April alone averages the second most tornadoes of any month, right behind May. And this year, the transition into April is happening with a bang, not a whimper. The 2025 severe weather season was historic. 1,544 tornadoes were reported across the country. March 2025 alone set a preliminary record for tornado reports in a single month. An EF4 tornado crossed the runway at St. Louis Lambert International Airport while a commercial aircraft was taking off. Communities across Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, and Alabama were devastated. 42 people lost their lives. And now, barely 1 year later, those same regions are facing another active pattern. I want to be clear about something. I am not trying to scare you. I am trying to prepare you. There is a big difference. Fear paralyzes. Preparation empowers. When you know what is coming, when you understand the timing, when you have a plan, you are in control. You are not a victim of the weather. You are someone who saw it coming and was ready. And here is one more thing that I think is incredibly important. Check on your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors, especially neighbors who live alone, especially neighbors who might not have smartphones or weather apps. If you know the severe weather is coming on Tuesday, knock on their door Monday evening and make sure they know. Make sure they have a way to receive warnings. Make sure they have a plan. That simple act of human decency could save a life. The March 10th tornado that hit Lake Village, Indiana, struck with devastating force. An EF3, 160-mile-per-hour winds, a 35-mile path. Homes were destroyed, lives were changed forever, and the people who survived, many of them said the same thing. I did not think it would happen here. I was not prepared. I did not have a plan. Do not be that person on Tuesday night. Do not be the person who says, I did not think it would happen to me. Because Tuesday, March 31st, has the potential to produce dangerous storms across a wide area. And while not every community will be directly hit, the ones that are will be grateful they took the time to prepare. This is not a drill. The atmosphere is loaded. The jet stream is active. Gulf moisture is surging northward, and on Tuesday, all of those ingredients are going to collide across the heart of America. Be ready. Coming up in my next video, I will have the very latest forecast models for Tuesday's severe weather event, with updated timing, specific threat levels for each major city in the path, and the very latest on whether those Ohio radar sites have been repaired. You are not going to want to miss that one because the details are going to change fast as we get closer to Tuesday, and I will be here to watch.